it's Eliz. Welcome to my 30-day yoga series for a calm mind. I'm so grateful and honored to be sharing this practice with you. So let's get started. Hi, it's Eliz. Welcome to day 3. For today's class, we will set up some foundation work for your yoga practice, working through the breath, through muscle engagement. We're going to introduce downward facing dog and focus a little bit more on stretching and opening up through the hips. So we'll get started in a comfortable seated position, whatever that looks like to you. If you're able to do cross-legged, great. If not, you can extend one leg out and keep one knee bent. You can extend both legs out. If you do have a pillow or a blanket that you can fold up, and that if you have tight hips, you can set that under your sitting bones. It elevates your hips and takes pressure off of the hips and knees and allows you to sit a little bit more comfortably. Do move the flesh of your glutes out of the way so that you ground down through your sitting bones and pulling the belly in, lifting through the sternum, shrugging your shoulders up, back, and down. Grow long through your neck and pretend like you have a string attached to the crown of your head and someone's giving it a little tug. Grow tall through the crown of your head. Palms are down on the thighs or cupping the knees, and just notice. Notice how your body feels at this moment, how the temperature in the room feels on your toes and your fingers, sensations, and the natural length of your inhalations and exhalations. So find a soft gaze a few feet in front of you, or maybe close the eyes. Move the jaw around a little bit, releasing tension from the jaw, which releases tension from the neck. Keep your lips pressing together. Bring your tongue to the roof of your mouth, and with that space and slight constriction in the back of the throat, start to breathe in and out through your nose, deliberately cultivating the Ujjayi breath. So as you inhale, drag the breath through the nose, through the back of the throat, pulling it down to the lungs, feeling your ribs expand. As you exhale, actively press the air out through the back of the throat and out through your nose, feeling your abdomen contract. So inhale for 1, 2, 3. Retain the breath at the top. Exhale for 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. So keeping the awareness of your body, keeping that rhythm with your breath. Think about something that you want to set an intention for, something that you want to dedicate your work to. It could be anything at all that's positive, and you can also send some love and energy out to someone you know could use some in their life. But just take the next 3 breaths to seal that intention. Inhaling deeply, exhaling all the air out. A few more times, just like that. And slowly you're just gonna lean back. Bring the soles of your feet together and your knees out wide. So keep that contact of your 2 sitting bones pressing against the mat, and you're in a seated butterfly stretch. So a lot of times we sit here and our knees go, and our hips start to really talk to us, and that's perfectly okay. So it's not about resisting what's coming up in your body. It's not about judging it. It's just about noticing it and breathing through it. So if you find that your knees are really high up and it's very uncomfortable in the hips, move your heels further away from you, making more of a diamond shape. If you find that you have space in your hips to move your heels closer in. So do press your heels towards each other, so you're kind of pressing them together. This activates your hip to glute connection, and it's more of an active stretch, because unless you're doing yin yoga, it's all active stretching. So you're engaging muscles to then release the opposing muscle. So you can grab onto your knees, you can touch your shins, get a hold of your ankles. If it's available, you'll interlace your fingers and wrap that basket around the toes. But if at any moment you find that your chest sinks and that your shoulders kind of shrug up, take a step back, slide your fingers up. You want to have a straight spine. So shoulders broad, grounded through the two sitting bones, subtly squeezing your heels toward each other. Notice sensation. You should feel sensation on the inside of your hips, your hip flexors, and on the outside of your hips, kind of that connection where your hip and glutes meet. So just take a few breaths to notice that sensation. Check in with the jaw a lot as we move through our practice, moving through stretching the hips. Your jaw and the space between your eyebrows tend to clench because it's uncomfortable. So instead, just soften that and breathe. So this might be enough. Maybe you stay here. If you want a little bit of depth and you're able to go deeper, without collapsing in your chest, without rounding in your shoulders, you're just gonna hinge, bending your elbows so that you fold with that straight spine. And remember, you can try things and change your mind. So if you fold and it's too deep, just take a step back. And wherever you are, we're gonna take 3 deep breaths. Noticing that sensation. Also noticing little sounds around you, smells. Letting everything be part of the experience. Take one more breath. Leaning back if you folded, close your knees up like a book, and then you'll just roll onto your hands and knees for tabletop. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, tops of your feet pressing against the mat, moving the spine through cat-cows. Inhale, belly drops. Lift your chest, lift your chin. Exhale, round, hollow the belly, press the ground away for cat. Inhale for cow pose, full inhale. Exhale for cat, full exhale. And whenever you're moving with your breath, pay attention to what your body wants you to do. Maybe you start moving a little bit more organically. Your hips start to move, your ribs, your shoulders and neck. There is really no wrong or right movement as long as you're doing it mindfully and guided by your breath. Take 3 more breaths. One more inhale. Exhale, round for cat. And then neutral spine, tabletop. So we're setting up our downward facing dog. Instead of having your thumbs facing perfectly towards each other and you're making like goalpost hands, move your thumbs slightly outward so you're making more like those little turkey hands. It allows you to open up through the shoulders. So from your tabletop, tuck your toes. So open your feet about hips width distance. Tuck your toes, hover the knees, and think about a kitty cat about to pounce. You're gonna press your chest to your thighs. Now, let go of the weight of your head, gaze at your thighs, at your knees, possibly behind the heels. Lift the tail without thinking that you have to straighten the legs, because down dog is a stretch for your spine first. So go ahead and widen your stance even more, making this a little bit less confronting. So remember, chest to thighs, like if you were gonna pounce, lift your tail, let your head be heavy. Now let your heels be heavy, and wherever your legs land, that is a beautiful down dog. So don't feel like you have to power through the heels to get your legs to straighten. That's not what this posture is about. Soften the elbows and try to rotate your biceps, the fronts of your arms slightly forward and your elbows slightly back, pressing your chest to your thighs, lifting your tail. Shake your head a little side to side. Shake your head a little up and down. 2 more breaths. Whenever you feel like you locked your elbows, soften them. I just noticed, so I'm softening the elbows. 1 more inhale. Exhale, come onto your knees, sit back on the heels. We're gonna do that 1 more time. So I wanna demonstrate what the arms are gonna do in down dog, because a lot of times we think we have to lock out the elbows and crunch the shoulders. Notice there's not a lot of space between my neck and my shoulders. You always wanna keep your shoulders broad. So remember, it's not your thumbs facing towards each other. There's a subtle rotation, and when you do that, notice that your shoulders kind of open up. There becomes more space in your chest. So then, these are your biceps. You're just rotating your biceps slightly forward and your elbows slightly back. So instead of doing this, you're doing this. And remember, don't lock out the elbows. Yes, it's a little bit more challenging, but think about it. You're using your muscles, not your joints. So you're just getting stronger, not compressing in your bone structure. So let's do it again. Finding those little turkey hands. Let's separate the knees a little bit wider than the hips. Tuck your toes. Hover the knees. You're a kitty cat about to pounce. Press your chest to your thighs. Biceps forward, elbows back. Keep those elbows micro bent. Let go of the weight of your head. Look between the knees or between the heels. Now lift the tail a little bit higher. Let your heels be heavy. That's a perfectly great downward facing dog. Because if you try to power through the heels, and your hamstrings get confronted, your shoulders start to freak out, and you want there to be softness even when you're working. So just take 3 more breaths. Scanning your shoulders, scanning your spine, down the legs, and then up the heels, behind the knees, down the spine to the shoulders. 1 more inhale. Exhale, come back onto your knees. Great job. So you'll just move space between your hands. You'll step your right foot up, tuck your left toes, lift the left knee, and step your left foot up to meet the right. Take your thumbs into your hip creases, chest to thighs, head is heavy, fold. We made it to forward fold. Shift a little bit more weight on the toes, hands cup opposite elbows, add a sway for length down the sides of your waist. Deep breaths. 1 more full inhale. Exhale, find your way to center. Release your hands. Walk your feet together. Inhale, come up halfway. Make sure those fingers are touching the ground, your shins or your thighs. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come up halfway, hold, bring your hands onto your waist, squeeze your elbows toward each other, more weight in the heels, rise. Mountain pose. All right, so mountain pose, big toes touching, heels slightly apart, or feet parallel to each other with about 2 inches between the big toes, rooting through your feet, active through your thighs, hollow through your belly, shoulders up, back, and down, growing tall through the crown of your head. And let's take some half sun salutations. Inhale, reach your arms up, palms touch. Exhale, hands through heart center, bend at the knees, hinge, fold, head is heavy. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold, root through your heels. Inhale, stand all the way up, palms touch, look at the thumbs. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart. Again, inhale. Exhale, hinge. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stand all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart, palms by your hips. Last one, inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise, hollow the belly. Exhale, hands to heart, palms by your hips. So open your feet as wide as your mat. Keep all 10 toes forward. Let's revisit Warrior 1, hands on hips. Right foot stays where it is. Left foot steps back about 2 or 3 feet. Turn your toes in a diagonal. Root through that heel, left thigh is really active. With your hands on your hips, right hip pulls back, left hip rotates forward. You see that big toe, you have those headlights shining forward. Don't collapse in your lower back. Pull the sides of your waist long. Arms can hold an invisible beach ball. Reach forward with your shoulders plugged, or for now, taking the arms out of this posture. Take 3 deep breaths. So the whole time you're pulling your heels energetically in towards the middle of the mat to keep your inner thighs active and length through the body. It's a lot of work. Yes, it's good work though. 2 more breaths. 1 more inhale, notice your hip flexor. Exhale, hands on hips with a softness in that left foot. You'll spring it up to the top of the mat. Width between the feet. Now left foot stays where it is. You'll step your right foot back 2 or 3 feet. Turn those toes in a diagonal. That back foot is your anchor root. Left hip back, right hip forward. Shooting guns of energy rays and goodness. Ribs are nice and knit in. Shoulders are broad. Choose the arm variation that best serves your body. So for this one, lift all 10 toes and squeeze your heels toward each other. Breathe. Find the focal point straight ahead. Soft face, so if somebody were to look at your face, they wouldn't know how hard you're working, but I know you're working hard. One more inhale. Exhale, hands back onto the waist. Lift the right heel. Springy spring lifts you up to the top of the mat. So have your feet together. Now we're gonna do warrior 2. Right foot stays where it is. You're gonna step your left foot pretty far back and think about standing on a tightrope. So the arch of your back foot is crossing your front heel. Sit low in that right thigh, and your left toes are also turned in a diagonal. You're really rooting, think about rooting through the outer edge of your back foot. Now take your right hand and gently guide your right knee towards the pinky edge of your foot. So a lot of times when you do that, your hips start to freak out and your lower back wants to do this. Resist doing that and instead just let the knee open, have softness in your pelvis. Subtly squeeze the feet in towards each other so your right arm is facing forward, your left arm is facing back, your shoulders are broad, and I think about having little weights dangling from a string off of my fingers so that you're not noodly in your arms. There's a subtle pressure down of your hands, and your focal point here is awesome because you have it straight down the fingers. So things that you're saying to yourself about yourself in warrior 2 is, I am a warrior. I'm strong. Breathe. So right knee towards the pinky edge of your foot. If you were to glance down, you would be able to see that right big toe. If your left knee is bent, root through the left heel. Soft jaw, soft face. 3 more breaths. One more breath. You're doing good. You got this. 1 more inhale. Exhale, bring your hands onto your waist. However you want to get there. Maybe you have ninja moves and you step up. Maybe you take 2 or 3 hops. However you want to get there, step to the top of the mat. So left foot forward, right foot back. So you're on a tightrope, so that front heel is crossing the arch of your back foot. Your big toe is turned inward, and you're anchoring through that back leg, so really press down through the outer edge of your back foot. Sit low. As I talk to you, I would bet money that your left knee starts to pull away. Sit into the discomfort. Press that knee ever so gently towards the pinky edge of your foot, and as you're here, just glance down. Do you see your big toe? Great. Is your lower back collapsing? Keep that nice straight spine. So lift the toes and subtly squeeze your heels toward each other. You feel the lift of your inner thighs, shoulders down, gazing forward. So this pose is a lot of work. You can have a yoga practice of 17 years like me and sit in warrior 2, and it always feels intense. That is the nature of this posture. It's okay. Breathe. Saying nice things to yourself about yourself. 3 more breaths. So scan. Don't let your mind go off on a bunny trail. You're scanning your feet. You're scanning your hips, your ribs, your shoulders, your neck. Your breath. One more breath. Bring your hands onto your hips. However you want to step up, a few hops or a big old hop. Step your right foot up to meet the left. Warrior 2, great job. So we're just gonna step back with the left foot. So right foot stays where it is. You're gonna take a giant step back with your left foot. Now all 10 toes are pointed forward. We're going back to squared hip. Bring your hands to the ground. Shimmy that left foot as far back as it'll go, and then drop that back knee. So if you don't have a blanket close by, just fold the mat in and double up the cushion. So for this one, keep your left toes tucked under, and using a little bit of momentum, you'll bring your hands on your right thigh. So check if one hip's kind of higher than the other. You can always use your thumbs on your hip creases as guides to pull that hip back. Now, hands softly rest on your right thigh. You're gonna sit into that right leg, but pull out of that left hip. There's that stretch again. So don't resist the stretch in the hips. The hips are tight because we sit for long periods of time all day, and our bodies are not really made for sitting, they're made for movement. But also because we hold in things that happen to us in our body. There's emotional intelligence in your body, so a lot of times when you don't want to face something, it lives in your hips. So that's why it's confronting. It's confronting because it's tight, but it's confronting because you don't necessarily want to deal with it. So just let it be what it is. Whatever comes up, maybe a memory comes up, maybe you start to laugh or you get a little sad. Let it be what it is. Sit a little deeper, lean back. So you can keep your hands on your thigh, you can float the arms. 2 more breaths. Good, hands down. Tuck your left toes, lift the left knee. Step your left foot up to meet the right, and you'll just step your right foot back. So shimmy that foot as far back as it'll go, then maybe doubling up on the mat, drop the knee. You wanna shimmy it back so that you don't land on the kneecap. You're more at the very, very bottom of your thigh. Toes are tucked, sit back. And really pay attention to the difference between the left and the right side of your body. Sometimes it's subtly different. Sometimes it feels, especially in the hips, like we live in 2 different bodies. And you know what? That's called being a human being. There's no symmetry in your body, just the way it is. So you're sitting a little deeper in that left thigh, but you're pulling yourself out from the ribs to get the stretch down the hip flexor. Palms can stay very softly resting on your thigh. If you want a little bit more balance work, you can float the arms, but with broad shoulders. Soft jaw, focal point is straight ahead. Saying nice things to yourself, about yourself. 3 more breaths. One more full breath cycle. Softly plant your palms to frame your foot. Tuck your back toes, lift the back knee. Step your right foot up to meet the left. And then you'll just come onto your knees. Open your knees as wide as the mat and let your big toes touch behind you. You'll send your hips back to your heels and take an open knee child's pose to stretch a little bit further through the hips. 1 more breath. Slowly coming back onto hands and knees. You'll just bump your hips to one side, sit. So plant your feet and roll onto your backs. If your lower back is a little bit tight and it doesn't feel great to straighten your legs, you can keep your feet down, knees together. Or if it's available, extend your legs in a V shape. So your heels are turned in, your toes are turned out, forearms and palms up towards the ceiling. Let all your muscles soften. Have space in your jaw, but let your tongue fall to the bottom of your mouth and just breathe naturally. Letting sounds and smells be part of this experience. And as you lay resting in your meditative state, know that you are loved, that you already have everything you need. And this relaxed, peaceful person that you are at this moment is your true self. It's always in you. You can always come back to this space. If you need more time resting, stay as you are. If you're ready to get moving, start by deepening your breath, wiggling your toes and fingers, rocking your head from side to side, and then rolling over to one side. Pressing against your top hand, you'll come onto your seat and bring your hands together in front of your chest. Thank you so much for taking this time for yourself, for allowing me to guide you through your practice. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste. Your homework for today is to notice where you hold tension in your body. A great time to do this is when you're driving. So when you drive, you hold the steering wheel. A lot of times you creep your shoulders up, or you clench your teeth, or even clench your fists. So as you go about your day, maybe walking, you notice that you're having your hips feel tight, or your lower back feels tight, or just any type of tension in your body that you feel throughout your day. Notice it, scan the body, relax your fist, shoulders, jaw, brow. F, S, J, B. I'll see you tomorrow. Till then.